Alrighty, this is another problem to help you out with your Unit 2 review. I know some of us were having trouble with the whole f of g of x and g of f of x thing, the composition of two functions. So I thought maybe we'd go ahead and take a look at two functions and figure out if they are inverses of each other. Remember, when you're trying to figure out if two functions are inverses of each other, you're asking yourself, does f of g of x equal g of f of x equal x, meaning when I do the composition one way, does it simplify down to x? And when I do the composition another way, does it simplify down to x? So I'm going to do f of g of x first. And remember, I just like to write f of g of x and kind of underline it so I know that that's what I'm doing. F of g of x simply means I am going to take g of x, right, that function right there, and plug it in where I see the x in the f of x. Okay, so I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start by writing, and we'll go red for f and blue for g. So I'm going to start writing f, and it's simply going to be, all right, that starts with a 1 over, and then I have some stuff here. Now I'm not just going to write a single x there. That is where I'm going to go ahead and write my 1 plus x over 1. So 1 over x plus 1. There we go. Okay, and then I still have to subtract 1. So if I'm looking at this again, just double check and make sure. Did you do 1 over some stuff minus another 1? And that's all you have to do to make sure of that. And then you do have to simplify it. Remember that when I am dividing by a fraction, I am multiplying by the reciprocal. So this does simplify down to 1 over 1 times an x plus 1 over a 1. That's just me multiplying by the reciprocal, and I still have to subtract that big 1. Well, all these ones, it's all just canceling, and so this is really just x plus 1 minus 1, and hey, that reduces to x. So I know that f of g of x reduces down to x, so now I have to do g of f of x. Like if I'd gotten something over here, like right here, if I'd gotten something that didn't simplify down to x, then I could have just stopped. Unfortunately, it did, so we got to keep going. So now, when I do g of f of x, I'm going to take this stuff right here, and I'm going to plug it into the x in the g function. So I'm going to start writing the g function, and the g is simply a 1 over, and then I have some stuff plus 1. That stuff happens to be 1 over x minus 1. And then I still have to add my 1. So if you look at g, g is 1 over x plus 1. So 1 over some stuff plus 1. When I look over here at my actual composition, I have a 1 over some stuff plus 1. Okay, and again, you can think of it almost like substitution. Let me get rid of my check marks. And of course, they go one at a time. Okay, so when we've got this, then definitely these two ones are going to simplify, and so, or reduce out, or cancel out, or however you want to think of it. A negative 1 and a positive 1 is just a plain old 0. So I have a 1 over 1 divided by x. Remember, dividing by a fraction, same as multiplying by a reciprocal. So I get an x. So I got an x on both of them. So yes, when I did this, I got f of g of x equals g of f of x equals x. So in really big, bold letters, I write yes, right? And then make it actually look like I'm happy to do this work. Okay?